Quack, quack! It's me! Hello everyone, I'm K-Swope, and yes, I'm about to be ranking Spider-Man costumes in my first ever list ranking video, which I'm very excited for. I'm also very excited to get this mask off, because it is stuffy in this thing, and I'm not doing this whole thing with a mask on, let me tell you that. Woo! But here's what we're going to be doing in this video. We are going to be taking every live-action Spider-Man costume, and we're going to be ranking it from worst to best. So, if you see anything strange or weird, if you see me glancing off to the side a lot, that is because I have my notes, and I have photos of the costumes there as well. So if I need a point of reference to explain to you what I'm talking about, I'm going to be looking about here. So, keep that in mind. I also want to point out, too, I got some really hot takes in this. I think a lot of people are going to be really upset with what I say. But again, this is my list, so I don't care, but I'd love to hear your case for them in the comments below, so please do that. But, moving on, we have the first Spider-Man costume, the worst Spider-Man costume, which also happens to be the Amazing Spider-Man homemade suit. And the reason this is terrible, I don't think I have to explain it that much. This is not one of those hot takes I was talking about. But this suit, it's lazy. That's the only note I have written for it. It's literally just a red mask, sunglasses on top, beanie, and then just street clothes. Like, no gloves, no nothing. And I think it's just really lame. Now, I understand it's like an origin sort of costume, but we have more origin costumes in this list, and this one is easily the worst because there's nothing to it. He's just wearing a like red, not even like a Spider-Man mask over top of his normal clothes, and I think that is pretty lame. I don't think I'm gonna get much flack for that opinion because I don't know anyone who advocates for this suit ever. But hey, if you're one of them, surprise me and let me know. But yeah, that is, in my opinion, the worst live-action Spider-Man suit. This next suit, however, though, this is the one I'm gonna get a lot of flack for. I'm telling you this right now. But the second worst Spider-Man costume, if you ask me, is the MCU Iron Spider suit. This suit I hate for a multitude of reasons. The biggest reason, if I'm just supposed to just say what I think of it, just looking at it, is that it's a very just ugly costume. I don't know why people like this costume so much, because there's nothing appealing about it. Because, for one, I don't even know where to begin, to be quite honest, because I really hate the suit. The textures, we'll use that. They're really bad. Now, I know the suit's supposed to be, metal because it's Iron Spider and all that, but it just, the nanotech thing, even when Iron Man went the nanotech way, we first saw that, I believe, in Avengers Infinity War, but even then, I wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't think the Bleeding Edge Iron Man suit looked very good, and this looks bad. And also, the color on it is also really bad, because it's kind of, it's sort of muted, I guess. Like, it's not like bright reds, because when I think of Spider-Man, I think of, pretty bright reds, pretty bright blues, and this one barely has blue at all. I can't even quite tell if it's supposed to be like a blue or a black for the spider symbol and like the pant trousers area. I don't know, and it just feels like, case in point, Marvel over designing, which is going to be something that we're going to see in later suits as well, but it's just, I don't know how else to describe it really, but ugly. Another big problem with it, too, is the whole suit is CGI. Like, I don't think there was ever a practical suit for the Iron Spider. And it looks awful as well. Like, I think Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern suit that was CGI completely looks better than this. And that's saying something, because the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie is not looked highly upon by most people. So, yeah. I don't get why everyone likes it so much, because I just look at it and I just think, oh, it's not great. I also really don't like the big spider symbol with the gold outlines, and it all just kind of bleeds and meshes together and just kind of looks very ugly, because I can't quite tell where some lines begin and other lines end, and that's not a good thing. And also, again, over-designed. It just got random, like, arm straps and like these things on his like wrists that just really don't need to be there. Plus, after Infinity War, he hardly really uses the suit for any Iron Spider things, and so I think that's pretty stupid, kind of lame. We're gonna move on to the next suit now, though, and this is another really hot take, but my next least favorite Spider-Man suit, this is the third worst, is the Spider-Man Homecoming homemade suit. Now, this suit, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, specifically from like cosplayers, I think, too, because this, I think, is one of the easiest Spider-Man suits to cosplay with. And I just don't like it. For one, it looks really stuffy and warm. and baggy. And I just don't think for most Spider-Man suits that's a good thing. It looks like the whole thing's made out of felt too. And I know it's supposed to be like kind of like sweatpants sort of material, but it just looks bad. And yeah, like my biggest problem, I guess, is the blues. Not my biggest problem. We'll get to my biggest problem in a minute. But one of my biggest problems is the blues. And again, I want to see like bright blues or like blues that are a little darker that kind of contrast a little bit with that red. But this got like almost like a baby blue, if you will, on a red, and I just don't like it. It just looks very babyish to me, I guess. And yeah, but that's not even the worst part about the suit. The worst part about the suit is clearly the eyes, because those like big chunky goggle things just look awful. And that's something you're going to hear a lot about me with this list, is I think the eyes are one of the most defining features of a Spider-Man suit. And so for me, I'm going to be spending a lot of time critiquing the eyes, and this one's eyes are just bad. Just straight up. Just like, I'm not against like the hoodie look, because I think Miles Morales can pull off the hoodie look like Into the Spider-Verse. He can do that quite well, but this suit is just not cutting it for me. I can't quite put my finger on what the problems are entirely. But I look at this suit and I just kind of go, ugh. Now, the next suit I have, and this one's probably not going to be as big of a hot take, but I refer to it as the Inside Out suit. It's the one from No Way Home, when he gets a stain on his suit, so he wears it to go kidnap Electro, inside out. And I'm really torn on this suit because I like the black and gold, looks really good, I think. But the problem is, like, it's literally just his normal suit worn inside out. And when you see all the wires and stuff hanging off of it, I'm like, it just looks trashy then. When they were making like promo images and like action figures of this suit before they really revealed what it was before the movie came out, I could look at it and think to myself, oh, okay, I don't think that looks half bad. But after knowing what it is and then seeing how it actually looked in the movie, I'm like, nah, this is not good, if you ask me. I'm not digging it. And again, it's not that I don't like the black and gold, because the black and gold, I think, is a really interesting color scheme that they chose. And I don't think it would look bad on a Spider-Man suit, to be honest. Like, there's the one suit in Miles Morales game, and I think it's in Spider-Man 2 now as well. But it's Uptown Pride, where it's the Miles Morales black and gold suit. Like, I like that. I can get behind that. But this, the fact that it's a joke, it's like a gimmick in the movie, and they promoted it so hard, it kind of gave me an expectation for it. And then when I actually go and see it, I'm like, no, it's not great. I almost feel like it's only in the movie also to sell toys, which is something that, if you ask anyone who's seen the movie Batman and Robin, they'll tell you that's a bad idea. But yeah, it's not really helping its cause, so this suit is not great. But it's not ugly either. It's a good concept, just bad execution. And I will say, I really do feel like I'm throwing Tom Holland under the bus here, no disrespect. I love Tom Holland Spider-Man. But the next suit that I have is Night Monkey, which is the suit that he wears in Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, Night Monkey's suit, it's interesting. I don't hate it. I like basically everything up to the mask. And I'm not a fan of the fingerless gloves, which is another problem with the homemade suit, might I add, too. But the fingerless gloves just don't seem right. They seem kind of weird. And I also keep thinking to myself, too, like, if someone really wanted to find Spider-Man's identity, and he was right there with something, if he has his gloves without any fingers on them, I mean, they can probably find a fingerprint or something like that. Now, I'm not sure what they do with that fingerprint then. But either way, you know, I think it's kind of... It makes sense because he's got the little, like, spider hairs or whatever that help him climb to walls and stuff. But on the other hand, he can still wear gloves and do the same thing. So why isn't he just wearing gloves? So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But other than that, I don't really have much complaints other than the fact that it just doesn't feel very Spider-Man-like. It's not that it's a bad design, except for the mask. We'll get to that in a second. The rest of the suit looks fine. But like I said before, the mask is my biggest problem with it personally, because the same thing I have with the homemade suit is looks like it's going to be so stuffy. And then it's just got these weird, like, goggles with the spider eyes. And I'm just kind of like, what? I'm not digging that. I wouldn't mind the suit if they did something different with the mask. In fact, the suit would probably rank a lot higher if they changed the mask, to be quite honest. But unfortunately, it is what it is, and so that's why it is here. What place is this? It's in 10th place. But 9th place is actually a suit that I think is criminally underrated. It is the Raimi homemade suit. Or the human spider, as some might want to call it. But this suit, that's a suit that he wears when he's wrestling Bonesaw McGraw in the movie. I love this suit, mainly because I feel like it does a homemade suit right, where it doesn't look like Spider-Man yet, but it's there. Like, he has the concept of Spider-Man in his head, I think, pretty strong when he's in this suit. Because you got the mask thing, he's still kind of working out the details. He's at least got the spider and the webbing painted on his shirt. And he's got the blue pants. And then he does have gloves, which is great. And the gloves look like, I don't know, some type of hardware gloves or something maybe. I'm not sure. Actually, no, not hardware gloves. Maybe like BMX biking gloves or something like that. But they're white with some red on them. And I don't know. I look at this suit and I think to myself, like, that shirt, I would totally wear that shirt if I had a copy of it, because it looks kind of cool. The shirt is cool in its own right, so I mean that's kind of a big plus for it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's not over designed. It's very simple, and you can see how this suit is eventually going to evolve into the Spider-Man suit that we see. So it doesn't hint too strongly at it, but it's still there, if that makes sense. Because the homemade suit from Homecoming, the Homecoming homemade suit, the problem that it had was it looked too much like it was trying to be a Spider-Man suit, but on a low budget, whereas this one looks like it is someone who is actually Spider-Man, and Spider-Man has not existed before, and he's figuring out how to turn that suit into this suit. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But either way, I love it. Again, that long sleeve shirt alone, I think is really cool, and if they made like a merch version of it, I would be very interested in buying a copy. I'll just say that. Alrighty, and the next suit that I have on here is, I think the official title for it is the hybrid suit, which that's the one in No Way Home that he wears after he gets the Iron Spider stuff off of Dr. Octopus, and he kind of puts it back on his suit. So it's got a little bit of that, but not a whole lot, if that makes any sense, compared to nanotech. That's the term I'm looking for. It has a little bit of nanotech, but doesn't have the whole Iron Spider getup. And there's a few things about the suit I want to bring up. The biggest thing holding it back, I think, is that it's over-designed. Because, just like the Iron Spider suit, it's got the big spider, which isn't really a bad thing. I wouldn't consider that a bad thing per se, on its own, with this suit at least. Because the thing that makes this work a little better is there's so much more contrast, because there's only that spider is just black and gold, and there's other black in the costume. But you can kind of see the lines, and you can see where they change, and where they merge, and where they divide, and all that stuff. And I think that really helps bring this suit up a lot better in my mind, in terms of how it's designed. But also, as we're going to see later, I am a fan of the black and red Spider-Man suit, but the touch of gold is a nice touch. Now, I'm not sure that I like it better than just the black and red by itself, but it definitely has a decent idea, if that makes sense. It's a good concept. If it was a little less over-designed, I might like it a little better. It's also a bit of a letdown, though, in the context in which it is in the movie. I prefer Tom Holland to wear a more traditional Spider-Man costume when he was teaming up with the other two Spider-Men, because he's wearing this outfit, and then you got Sam Raimi Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire, right? Tobey Maguire's wearing his normal suit. Andrew Garfield's wearing the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, and I really like those suits, and so I just feel like he's the odd man out in that scene. If he was the only Spider-Man in this movie, maybe it'd be okay. But also, as we're going to see when we get later on into the list, the more traditional Spider-Man suits are the ones that I lean toward liking a lot better. But, I mean, that's kind of all I really have to say about the hybrid suit. I mean, it's decent, not my favorite. I would pick a handful more suits over that one. But speaking of more traditional Spider-Man suits, that's going to take us into the next pick that I have, which is the Amazing Spider-Man suit. That's the first Amazing Spider-Man movie suit. Now, this suit, it does a lot of things right, and then does a lot of things that are questionable. If you look at just the suit from maybe like the arms here and up, it looks pretty great, other than the eyes. Because the eyes, I understand what they were going for, and I was kind of on board with it when I first was looking at the suit. I kind of, sort of, could get behind the eyes, but I feel like they've just done Spider-Man eyes so much better, and they were trying to go so much more dark and edgy with this suit, and I think that can be seen in the eyes, and I just don't really like it. In some shots and certain lighting, it looks a little better, because you can't tell that the eyes are like this yellowish, like, bronze look, because I definitely don't like that, but yeah, everything else is fine. I think the color is pretty decent in the suit. I think the overall design is not too bad. The one thing I will say is it gets really weird when it gets down to the hands and the feet. Because in the hands, they kind of like, the blue just kind of starts wrapping around stuff and it gets kind of weird. And I'm not opposed. I kind of sort of like that they have some blue on the hands, but it just feels, again, with that over design, that it's kind of like all over the place and it's kind of hard to like trace and track because it's a bit distracting is basically what I'm trying to say. And the feet, color-wise, they look fine, but their webbing is over designed. And so I'm looking at this photo here right now, and you can see the webbing, and it's like it starts on his shin and then just kind of goes down and like curves like under, and it's like twisting, and I'm like, what? So I'm not a fan of that. I will say one thing that I do kind of like in this suit is the fact that it looks like he used like soles from like sneakers he had on the bottom of the feet. I really like that look. I'm not sure how practical that is, but I think it at least looks cool. And so I gotta give a little bit of credit to that. But yeah, overall the Amazing Spider-Man suit is decent. Again, it's not my favorite suit. I don't like love it, but I don't hate it either. So I'm just kind of either way with it. It is actually, now I'm looking at my numbers here, it is the middle one on my list because it's number 7. There's 14 suits on here. I also want to point out before I get too far into this review that I will not be rating certain suits, like the Sam Raimi suits, for example. Each movie, they touched and tweaked the suit a little bit. I'm still going to be counting that suit as one suit because it's all the same concept and there's just a few tweaks here and there, but it does not change the suit design generally speaking. I will point out a few things here and there, but just keep that in mind going forward. All right, so my next favorite design is the Sam Raimi black suit, Bully Maguire, that's right. I think I'm in the minority of people who like this suit because I hear everyone complain they want the big white Spider-Man logo and they want the little pads on the things because like it was in the comics. But in my perspective, my first introduction to Venom in the black suit was this movie growing up. And so me seeing that black Spider-Man suit, I thought to myself, wow, this is like a more dark, edgy Spider-Man suit. And I really, really liked it. I really like what they do with the chest emblem, the spider logo. This suit I'm wearing right here is a knockoff of the Sam Raimi one, as you can see, because of the webbing. But, as you can see, instead of it just coming up like this, they're kind of bigger, and they come out, and they go, like, up a little bit. And it makes it look a lot more sinister, and, dare I say, a lot more, like, powerful, because I guess that's kind of what the suit's doing. So, I understand it's not very comic accurate, but on the other hand, I feel like they had a really strong concept for what they wanted this suit to represent, and I think that this design really capitalizes on that. Plus, again, I really like Spider-Man's black suits generally speaking. So it was really hard when I was putting this list together because, again, I really love this suit, but I also understand it's got a lot of drawbacks. And I think a big thing for me also, the nostalgia. I'm really nostalgic for this time because the marketing during Spider-Man 3, if you were a Spider-Man fan when that was coming out, was insane. And especially growing up, I would have been like 6 or 7 when this was happening. Again, I've been a big Spider-Man fan since childhood. And seeing that suit and how it was advertised and everything, I'm just like, this is the coolest thing because now you got the Spider-Man suit that's already fantastic. Then you have this cool, edgy, like darker version of it. Again, my personal bias is really coming through on this suit specifically. I know that's not a popular opinion, but also, this is my list. You can make your own if you have a problem. Or, if you want, drop a comment, tell me why I'm wrong. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. Now, in 5th place, we have the ever so iconic Sam Raimi Spider-Man costume. This is an absolute classic. As I mentioned earlier in this review, I really like the more traditional classic-looking Spider-Man suits. And so this suit specifically, it is the bee's knees. Let's just put it like that. Especially being the first big screen, high budget Spider-Man movie to come out. It really nailed the costume. Now there are a few things I could say could be better. Like I'll bring up my mask I was wearing a little bit ago here. The eye shape, I really think they could have shaped that a little better because they're really just kind of like funky triangles. They're not the more bug eyes that you're used to seeing in Spider-Man. So they could definitely improve on that a little bit, I think. I do think the suit's a little bit boxy too, if that makes any sense. And what I mean by that is it's very symmetrical, but almost like too symmetrical, if that makes sense, where it just feels kind of stiff, if that makes any sense. So something I don't like specifically is how the whole upper arm you can't see any of the blue underneath it when you're looking at it. So there's one photo I got that I'm going to show you guys. It's from when he's doing the train battle with Dr. Octopus. And you can look and see that his arm that's going to be on your right side, it is like straight down. You can't see any of the blue. Kind of don't like that because it's almost too red at most angles. And so, again, I can't complain a whole lot about the suit, but there's a few nitpicks here and there that I think they could improve on. But the eyes, again, the eyes are a big thing. The silver webbing, though, that's something that was really unique and interesting. And I feel like a lot of Spider-Man media at that time really followed suit and tried the silver webbing thing for a little while, or at least making the webbing a little more bright and vibrant. I can't say, looking back on it, I'm a big fan of the silver webbing design, but then again, this suit is so iconic and it's such a classic at this point that in this scenario, I can kind of overlook it. But if they were to do that on a more recent Spider-Man suit, I'd probably look at it and think to myself, I'm not a fan. But in this case, I think it gets away with it. All right, in fourth place, we have Tom Holland's Far From Home suit. I want to say the advanced suit is what's actually officially called. But this suit, I mentioned it before, I teased at it, but I really like the black and red design. I know it's controversial putting it above the Sam Raimi Spider-Man suit. I've always loved in the comics the black and red Spider-Man suits. So we've seen like the one What If story with the Assassin Spider-Man. That's a cool suit. The Alex Ross suit is a pretty cool suit. Superior Spider-Man, both versions of his suit, I also really like. And so seeing a little bit of that in this Tom Holland suit, I appreciate. I also think the white outlines and the spider logo is an interesting new twist too, because there would be a potential problem that the spider logo would get kind of lost since it's just black and red. But I think the white outline really helps because it makes it so that your eyes are still drawn to the Spider-Man logo in the center. And I think that's a good thing. That's good design. One thing I do want to point out, by the way, is a lot of people get this wrong. And not that I'm considering this a different suit, but the suit that he wears at the end in the final battle in Far From Home is actually different than the one that he wears in Spider-Man No Way Home. They made a small change to his like belt area. So kind of like in the Homecoming suit, he had like black belt and I guess like patches or whatever on the sides that I guess held like web fluid canisters or something like that. They removed that and they kind of changed that whole area in the suit. So it's weird because as soon as you first see the suit, as soon as it comes on the scene, because as you know, No Way Home picks off right where Far From Home ends. But it's worth mentioning, and again, I just think the black and red looks really good together. And it definitely is not better than some of the more comic accurate suits, but I gotta say, I think it looks really, really good. But speaking of more comic accurate suits, that brings us to number 3. My third favorite Spider-Man suit, that one being the Spider-Man Homecoming and Civil War suit. Now this suit, when it first came out, at first I was a little like shocked because I was kind of used to seeing what they were going in the direction of the Amazing Spider-Man and things like that. But it is very comic accurate. There's only one issue I can say with it that keeps it, actually 2 issues that keep it from being a perfect Spider-Man suit. And here's what they are. For one, it's the extra just random black thick lines that they added like over on top of the, I don't know, whatever you call this, forearm, is that it? A little bit there and then some like over here on the shoulders. I think that's kind of unnecessary, and then they kind of run down. And as I mentioned in the last suit I was talking about, it's got these kind of like black things that I guess hold web fluid canisters or something like that. Maybe they're supposed to look like they do. I don't really know what their function is, but that's there. The one thing I will say that I like is I like the over-the-suit web shooters. I think that looks really good, and so I'm a fan of seeing that whenever I can, because it doesn't happen that often, but whenever I see it, it's good. And I think the web shooters, they do look very good on this suit. Even if everything else was fine, it was all corrected, and the web shooters stayed the same, I probably wouldn't complain about that much. But my only other problem with the suit, too, is I'm not a fan of the shade of blue that they use, because I feel like in different lighting scenarios, it just looks a bit too, like, I kind of just want to say gross, even though I know that's not helping anybody. It's not vibrant enough, I'll put it like that. It's the opposite of the homemade suit that Tom Holland has, because that one, the blue is too, like, babyish, and this one, the blue is, like, almost too dark, but not in a good way. It's almost, like, slightly closer to, like, if you had, you know, your color panel out and you were dragging with color codes and stuff. It's almost like it was dragged a little closer to the green than I would like it, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem blue and bright enough. There's also a bunch of extra lines that are literally there for like almost no reason in this suit. But other than that, I mean, it would be a perfect Spider-Man suit if those few things were tweaked and fixed. The other thing too, this was the first Spider-Man suit that we saw with the adjustable eyes. And that was a big game changer, if you ask me, in terms of Spider-Man suits, because Spider-Man is always emoting with his eyes in the comics and in just about everything, cartoons, all of that stuff. And we've never really been able to see that in the movies until this suit. And I remember when I first saw it, I was like, holy cow, that's cool. But the other thing with this suit too, it's very reminiscent of the classic Spider-Man suit as well. Especially when we get to see it with the web wings for that little sequence in Homecoming. So that was a nice treat. And the whole design, it just feels so classic. And it feels like an MCU-ified version of like the most classic Spider-Man suit they can get their hands on. And so there's a lot to appreciate in this suit. I know I just listed off a bunch of nitpicks. But overall, generally, I just think it's a really, really good design. But it is not a better design than my number 2 pick. This one being the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit. Now, this suit, I love this. This suit is beautiful for a multitude of reasons. Let me tell you why. For one, my problem with the Sam Raimi suit was with the arms, for example. And they really changed that in the arms. They bring them up a little bit more on the suit, so you can kind of see them from more angles, but you still have the red that goes down. It does look a little squash with the webbing a little bit too, but I mean, I can overlook that. That's not a real big problem for me. The eyes are beautiful. I could not think of better eyes for a Spider-Man suit. That is like straight out of a comic. And this whole suit kind of seems straight out of a comic, if you ask me, and so I absolutely just love it for that. My only nitpicks would be these. For one, in the one photo I have, in certain lightings, the red they use is a little too magenta-ish for me, so I'm not a big fan of that, and that kind of makes it lose a little bit of its luster, if you will. The Spider logo, too, is also really low on the suit, which is kind of strange. So, like, in a perfect world, I would just bring that up a couple inches. So it's like more on his, like where this is actually. So there you go, perfect. I was using my own body to show it, and I ended up being perfect. So yeah, I'd bring that up a little bit more, change that red a little bit. But other than that, like I really can't say anything bad about the suit. It is beautiful. It also has exposed web shooters. They're a lot smaller though than the Tom Holland ones. But you still get to see those. And again, this suit is amazing. It's a shame that it was not in a better movie though, because The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I still enjoy watching it. It's still one of my preferred Spider-Man movies, but I will admit that it's definitely not the best. But either way, you get the suit in the right lighting, and you just see it, and you're just like, wow, this is beautiful. And it's fantastic. But we have one suit left to talk about. That is my number 1 pick on this list. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't think I'm saying anything new by telling you what my number 1 pick is, but it is the final swing suit from Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, this suit, I have nothing but good things to say about it. I may have one nitpick, but it is just, it's fantastic. For one, the Spider logo on it, it looks very new and fresh, but not over-designed like Marvel likes to do. And so that is amazing. The coloring on the suit is also absolutely amazing. That's the only nitpick though. I would maybe make the blue a little less shiny. That's like a little, yeah, it's more of a nitpick than anything. But it's great. The design is just fantastic. I feel like this suit's really learned from every other Spider-Man suit that they've done in live action. I think that's kind of the point, and it kind of brings all of the best traits together. And again, it looks pulled straight out of a comic book. It is beautiful. It is glorious. It's got the blue also, not just staying to the one part, so you can see it from different angles on the arms. It's got the nice pointed, I almost want to call it like a belt strap part that comes down. Not looking too flat like some of the other Tom Holland Spider-Man suits have. And yeah, I mean, like, it's really peak Spider-Man suit. That's really what it is. And there's kind of no other way to talk about it because, yeah, they did everything right with this suit. I would hate if they screw it up in the upcoming 4th Spider-Man movie because I feel like Sony's really messing with that movie a lot, and it's not entirely sure how that movie's going to be, but I don't know. We'll see. But either way, That, ladies and gentlemen, that, if you ask me, is the greatest Spider-Man suit that we have seen in live action. And, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be my list. So, thank you guys all very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. If you didn't enjoy, or you had any issues, you didn't like some of the opinions that I had, hey, that's what the comment section is for. I'm totally open to having a conversation with you guys down there. But if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. This is my first list video. I do want to do more of these. Definitely in the future, different kinds of lists on stuff. But if this is your first video you're watching, I do a lot of reviews. I like to talk about things, maybe give a little bit of commentary here and there. But I'm trying to change things up, trying to think of other video formats I'd like to do, just kind of see how well they perform, and then just kind of go from there. So, if you like this video, let me know. If you want me to rank anything else, whether it's movies in a franchise or if you want me to rank other superhero suits, I will gladly do that. I just thought Spider-Man was a great place to start. So hopefully you guys agree as well. Hope you had fun with this video. But that's going to end things for me. I'm K-Swope. Thank you guys all for joining. I will catch you in the next one.